Everybody. My name is Dr. Alex Scavone. Welcome to Introduction to Philosophy. A few things to get going. I just wanted to briefly outline the course to get you started on the right foot. So we're going to go over some housekeeping, a brief introduction to philosophy, and then we'll look at Bertrand Russell's The Value of Philosophy, so you know exactly why this class is going to be important for you. So to begin the housekeeping, it's important that you know that this is an online class and how online classes work. It's typically broken down into three parts, basically how the class works, looking at the syllabus, and then expectations I have, so that you know exactly where we will be going this semester. So this course is fully online. So instead of coming to class, you will be expected to attend via just participating in the assignments, watching the lectures, reading the announcements, participating in discussions, and things like that. There is no required um, Zoom element or online synchronous class. This is all asynchronous, so there are no meeting times. The class is on Canvas, so please make sure you are familiarizing yourself with Canvas. I have a link in the Canvas shell if you are new to it. If you're not and you still have questions, please feel free, email me, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions about Canvas. Throughout the semester, I'll be putting out announcements. These announcements will just be giving reminders, kind of letting you know about important dates. They may include some supplementary materials or readings, some videos, helpful tips, that sort of thing. One of the assignment types or assessment types that you will be having to do this semester are discussion boards. So if you're not familiar with the discussion board, you will be prompted to answer a question, and you'll roughly want to answer that question in 150 words, making sure that you are addressing the question in the prompt and addressing the material that we've been talking about for the week. After that, you will respond to two of your classmates in 50 words or more. Try to make sure that those responses are substantial. Don't say that you really enjoyed reading the post. Don't say that, wow, that's a great point, I didn't think of that. Don't just reiterate what someone else is going to say. You want to ask questions, critically analyze what people are saying, provide your own examples, add value to the discussion. If you just say that you really liked somebody's post and you also agree with X, Y, or Z, it kind of shuts the conversation down so that nobody else can respond. So make sure that you're responding to your fellow classmates in substantial, valuable posts. You will also be required to take quizzes. Roughly each week, there'll be typically multiple choice questions, true, false questions, and these will be pertaining to the lectures and reading material for the week. They're typically very short, anywhere from 2 to 5 questions. Not worth a lot, but important to just kind of keep you on track, let you know what's important with the readings, with the lectures. And these are timed. They're 60 minutes. However, if you do the readings, you should probably finish these in 5 to 10 minutes. So you have plenty of time, and make sure that when you start the quiz, you're taking the quiz and completing it. If you navigate away from the page or time runs out, it automatically gets submitted for you. Now, two of the bigger grades in this class are the midterm and the final. Both are going to have the same format. Essentially, I'm going to provide you with 3 questions, and you will choose 2 of those questions to answer in essay format, 300 to 400 words, making sure that you, 1, address the question, answer the question, and 2, making sure that you're providing examples to help explain why you answered the question the way you did, so that it kind of shows your understanding of material and your ability to kind of digest and think about and theorize and philosophize about the particular topic and the question and how you answered the question. Again, this is timed. It's a 2-hour test. However, again, you should probably be able to finish this in 45 minutes to an hour. One of the other major grades for the class is your essay. You're going to be expected to write a persuasive research essay. That means that you will be having to deliver a thesis statement along with an argument that supports that thesis statement in a 1,500-word essay, so roughly 5 to 6 pages. I provide some topics for you to choose from. If you find something in the class that you are interested in and you want to come up with your own topic, you're more than welcome to do so. Just please remember that if you're going to do that, run your idea by me first, so that you're not kind of creating too difficult a task for yourself or too easy a task for yourself, because you're looking for that 1,500-word threshold. But this will be the biggest part of your grade, and we'll talk about it later in the semester. Now, I expect everyone to participate in the discussions and making sure that you're keeping up with the material, making sure that you're reading the readings, that you're reading the announcements, that you're listening to the lectures, and all that stuff. If you need help, if you're having trouble, it's really, really important that you reach out because this is an asynchronous class, because it's an online class. I can't really get a sense for how you're feeling about the material unless you let me know. So please feel free to email me if you're having any problems or you need any clarification on anything with the course or Canvas or any of the assignments or anything like that. So when you're looking over the syllabus, here are a couple sections that are important here, a couple sections you might want to focus your attention on. Contact information, again, if you need to email me, my email address is there. Percentages of each assessments, the late policy. If you submit an assignment that's late, it will get a 20% deduction on the grade. So make sure that you're not submitting work late. And then also just the course schedule, when we're going to be studying what, and when we're going to be doing readings and so forth. So moving into a kind of introduction to philosophy, what this class really is, I'm going to kind of move through this pretty quick. I don't want to make a video that's too long and undigestible, something that you are going to get bored with. So we'll move through this quick. When we ask ourselves kind of what is philosophy, it's not necessarily the study of questions that can't be answered. In fact, philosophy is very rigorous, carefully, well-argued, precise. It is a subject that delves into the nature of reality and the nature of knowledge, how we ought to behave, and ask questions and tries to understand the world better and more clearly. And while a lot of the questions that we're going to talk about, a lot of the problems that we're going to talk about may not seem to have concrete answers, that doesn't mean that there aren't any or that there's no place for philosophy. Philosophy actually has a very important role in society, and we are going to look at an article in a little while that explains that, the Bertrand Russell value of philosophy. Now, there are typically 3 main divisions of philosophy. The division that asks the questions of what is knowledge, the division that asks what is real, and the division that asks how we ought to behave. So epistemology is that study of knowledge, right, that really asks the questions about the nature of knowledge, right? Is it reliable to the extent that we can understand the world better? And what is the nature of truth, or how is it that we actually know that we can know something? We also have the division that is metaphysics, the study of reality or existence, kind of the field that really addresses questions of reality. What is a mind? What is free will? What is identity over time? Does God exist? These types of questions. Now, these are the 2 divisions that we're primarily going to focus on in this class. However, there is another study that is a different class, typically an ethics class, that really studies the good, or how we ought to behave, how we ought to kind of create government and society and political institutions and things like that. So if you're primarily interested in that, there is a different course that focuses primarily on values and ethics. So there are a couple other philosophical categories that we can break philosophy up into, a little more specialized, things like the philosophy of science or art or political philosophy. You can get very specialized, have basically a philosophy about everything. But for the main purposes of this course, we're going to focus our attentions on metaphysics and epistemology. So again, just moving briefly, looking at the value of philosophy, the Bertrand Russell piece that you will be reading this week. Bertrand Russell, a British philosopher, is famous for his work on logic and mathematics, set theory, number theory, but also gives us a very interesting and profound piece on the value of philosophy. Here are some of his more acclaimed highlights. You can look further into these if you're interested. But really, for the purpose of today, we're just going to look at the value of philosophy and why Bertrand Russell is important for us to look at. Now, according to him, philosophy is valuable not for the same reason that the physical sciences are valuable. Philosophy is valuable indirectly. So we're not going to learn how to build anything. We're not going to learn how to create anything with philosophy. It's more of the indirect skills that you get by doing philosophy. And so the aim of philosophy is to acquire knowledge, to acquire understanding, and we do so through using means of logic, critical thinking, looking at methods of argumentations, truth, etc. Again, the indirect value that Russell explains is acquired by doing philosophy is really the attending to both mind and body. Again, giving you some of those indirect tools, such as being able to be a critical thinker, and particularly he talks about this idea of being set free, which is something that we'll look at here in a minute. So the four indirect things that Russell explains that you take away from philosophy is, again, being freed, achieving freedom, building one's own view of life, kind of cultivating awareness about the world, and learning to become a better critical thinker. So when we talk about this idea of freedom, we can look to kind of this Buddhist philosophical tradition that has kind of a more profound type of freedom, holding that like once we understand the true meaning of the universe, we'll be freed from that kind of cycle of birth, suffering, death, and rebirth. Now, of course, for our purposes, this idea of freedom is not so religious in context, not so profound, but instead it kind of frees us from the burden or the weight of holding false beliefs or holding beliefs that we may unsure about or aren't quite clear about, and allows us to not necessarily worry about those things that we could be burdened with. So if you were to, for instance, get in an argument over Thanksgiving dinner with your family, and everybody's arguing, right? The more you do philosophy, the more you kind of understand the problems that arise with philosophy, how difficult a lot of these preconceived thoughts on subjects are, the more you kind of realize how difficult and intricate these problems become. And so you almost become less certain of types of positions that you may want to defend necessarily. We can look to Socrates, whose famous saying is the only thing that I don't know, the only thing that I know is that I don't know anything, right? This idea that we don't need to sit here defending and convincing somebody of something that we ourselves may not quite understand. And so it kind of gives you this freedom of not having to bear the weight of explaining this very difficult thing that really nobody can or nobody can well. It also gives us a type of view of life, perspectives of the world, perspectives of philosophies makes us more tolerant to other perspectives and other arguments, makes us more empathetic and understanding to different cultures and different ways of life. Because again, we see that looking at the world, looking at these problems is quite difficult, and even we can't be too sure about some of these areas. It allows us to kind of take a beat, think, and appreciate different perspectives and understandings of the world. Thirdly, it cultivates our awareness, of how we think, how we're influenced by others, and in turn helps to guide us on our journey to learning about different topics, learning about different things, making us become better people, better critical thinkers, and so forth. And then lastly, again, just the idea of being a good critical thinker, having the tools to think clearly about topics, knowing basic concepts in logic and argumentation and things like that.